Good morning, everyone. John471 here to discuss the S&P 500. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Allow me to read our disclaimer. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. Today is Thursday, as I mentioned. At 8:30 EST, we have jobless claims. Where is it? Initial jobless claims right there. We also have the PMI composite flash at 9:45 right here. And we also have several Treasury announcements, short-term bill auctions starting at 11. And then we have a 10-year TIPS auction at 1. John Williams speaks at 2. There he is. And that wraps us up for today. Again, no data points of note. Let's move on to our charts. Okay, here we have the S&P 500 daily bars, full session. And just revisiting our narrative that we discuss on this chart, we had put in the low, or what seems to be a low. We started to rally. We were looking for a recovery of this area, this March range, March VPOC. We were able to do it. We were able to grind through and take the MCV or the CVPOC at the high here at 58.21, right around this area. We were looking for potential continuation into the 6,000 and 6,030, which would correspond with this HVN right there. That's what we were basically looking for. And then yesterday we got some reversion lower through our trendy, sort of choppy trend higher. Let's take a look at that. I don't know why my computer's acting slow this morning. But anyway, once we had gotten through that 58.21 region, I talked a lot about this choppy trend. And then yesterday we saw a pretty nice release. After I had noted we were starting to see some balance, and yesterday we saw this pretty nice release lower. It took out the targets that we were looking at below, which were the single prints. Let's go to a smaller time frame chart and discuss that more specifically here. Okay, so here we are on our TPO chart. This is RTH only TPOs. Here are those single prints that I've been talking about for a while, left from May 15th right here. We had tested into them here, reverted higher, still got another high in this, in this trend. And then on this day, yesterday at plans, I noted that this is likely resistance. This area of this distribution was likely resistance if we got there. We did actually kind of get there, right there. But instead of moving up and taking the prior settle, which is 59s, we had a settlement of 59.75 right here. So we couldn't get it. So there's an untested settle here. There's also from Monday, we have an untested settle up here in right around 81. So we're just we're seeing the higher time frame start to take some profit the way that they're aggressively selling, and we're leaving settlements open. However, there's still willing buyers here. This purple area is the 58.21s I've been talking about. And this is the key area to test if the sellers want to keep pushing, if they want to keep pushing. We notice that we have this the singles. As I said, we had these single prints here. And wouldn't you know it, we just flushed right through them and left brand new singles right in the same area, which is always fun to do. So really, we have pretty clear targets here. If we continue lower, we're looking at this 58.21 MCV pocket. If we continue higher, if we push higher, then we're looking for these single prints. So really clear targets from a structural perspective here. Also, I'll just notice this area, I kind of noted this profile yesterday. Notice how when you have like a fight like this, it's such a concentrated fight, we tend to really react to it. We got the reaction higher here and then just fell right through it here. This is a clear fulcrum where a lot of the participants that are trading this range are probably really looking at this as an over underline. But the thing is, when we have that, when we see an area that we know participants, or we see evidence that participants are, it's like an over underline. The way what happens is we need the other time frame. We need a higher time frame to come in and make one side wrong or right. Smaller traders or even swing time frame traders aren't going to move the market. The higher time frame needs to come in and show us if these prices are really a buy or a sale as of right now. Let's go to a smaller time frame chart and plan for specific price action. Okay, here's the S&P 500 intraday chart. Lavender areas are obviously the overnight. Here we can see basically the drop from yesterday, the profile from yesterday after we dropped this area, and the singles. Let's actually do it so we can see all of yesterday. There we are. So as we can see, we kind of opened, we pushed higher, we opened in the gap, pushed higher, closed the gap, made the attempt to continue for the prior settle. Settlement is up here. This is the VPOC, which was 60. The settlement was 59.75. So this is the area that we failed to test and just release lower. Look at this distribution right here. This is a very clear just battle area that the sellers won, and we flushed lower. And no one was even willing to put a bid out there until we got down to this area, and those bids didn't really work out. So anyway, so this area is very important for me today. We retested it, continued, and we're able to get to the mid-century 5850s here. So let's discuss bearish ideas first. Although we have to, this could, ideally we want to see a nice directional move today. We might see it might chop around first. We see this overnight profile is just very concentrated in this zipper area. Let's go over the bearish ideas. And the bearish ideas will begin with the most bearish idea, which is if this overnight high holds, this rounded overnight top. So what could it look like if this holds during RTH? Well, we have this area here pretty clean, these lows, and we have this rounded top here. So if we just get a little extension and everybody who's long in here gets nervous, we retest, we can't get through, boom. That's about all it would take, in my opinion, to get this overnight low to be tested for mid-century. If the overnight low is tested and it's not a lick check that immediately shoots higher, back up through the overnight VPOC, as long as we don't do that, I would be up for a push into this next zone. And I don't even know how much this zone would really matter if we really start to see volume unload. But regardless, as long as this zone does not provide support, I would be looking for continuation lower to the key target, the one I've been talking about for a long time, the 5821s. So preserving the overnight high, seeing a break, retest, continuation, I would be looking for obviously the purple zone I've been talking about for a long time. If once we test this, the purple zone, the magnet zone, if we remain unable to recover the prior range and we start to explore prices lower, below here, I would just really go zone to zone. Let me see if we can bring another chart in here. I would be going zone to zone, but I'd really be looking for the low of May 13th, which is really, I would be looking for the 5800s below this zone. That would be the key next target, would be below this zone. But I would really just be going zone to zone because this is the key target for me. I think there will be support below it, but we could spill over. So I would just be looking for zone to zone action below this 5821 area. If we could really lose it. If we really lose it, then my key target would be the 5750s if we really drop century. But we have to get there first. Let's go over our bullish ideas instead. Now, here's the thing. The bullish ideas could totally happen along with that whole idea. So we had the idea if the overnight high holds, what happens if we get a break, retest, we continue through, we test this key target. Well, we could get this key target and just see a vicious impulse back above the mid-century into the prior range. If we see something like that, like a test of the key area and impulse back into range, then I would start looking long for a retest of first the overnight VPOC right here. And if we still continue, the overnight high. And if we get the overnight high after this test, then I would expect this to be potentially a reversal, and I would be open to continuation above the overnight high I would go zone to zone, but my key target above would be these singles. So that would be how it could happen after we get this test. Or we could also just fail to get this test. We see that we're pushing. If we just kind of do what I was saying, like a potential break and retest, but we don't get the whole way there, and it turns out that there's actually a bid sitting here or somewhere around this mid-century, and we somehow take this overnight high. If we take this overnight high without taking the overnight low, I am expecting us to push to the next zone, just based on the stops going off. I would expect us to push to this next zone. Then at that point, I think we would see what's really going on. Maybe we get a pullback. It could be sloppy, but if we hold the VPOC, then I would be open to continuation higher. Key target for any push higher above the overnight high that shows some some participation are these singles. And much like our downside target, if we get through these singles, I'm just looking zone to zone, and the targets are just wonderful. I mean, this target right here through our HVN, our 5924 zone is a target I'd scale at. I would also scale here at the 37s, and then our prior VPOC and settle our prior VPOC up here around the mid-century. So very clear targets, but we just have to figure out the direction. But yeah, pretty clear targets today. The MC or the CVPOC below if we break lower, and the singles above if we break higher. And upon getting either one of those targets, I would be open to reversion. If we instead continue through these targets, I would just look zone to zone. That's what I got for you today, 12 minutes into it. Let's call that a day here. I think that's pretty good for the S&Ps. The S&Ps are pretty straightforward here. Very balanced overnight, flagging this move down. If we continue, we want to look to target this. If we revert, we want to target the singles. All right, there we go. That's our marching orders for today. Any questions, ask me in the chat room. Hopefully this is complete. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope your wonderful day continues. I hope you find some way to improve your trading today that is not dependent upon your P&L. That's what I got for you. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We're trying to get to that 10,000 mark. Big psychological level. Hoping to push through, maybe set off some stops. Maybe we'll just run to 11. Who knows? But that's what I got. Any questions, ask me in the chat room. Hopefully this is helpful to you. I hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow. Ciao.